California Love, the Tupac featuring Dr. Dre, or Dr. Dre and Tupac, or song that's not on All Eyes on Me but was made to promote All Eyes on Me. Look, I don't know. This was the epic Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome inspired music video. Tupac was already a major star, but made him probably one of the biggest stars on the planet in 1996, and I remember when it came out and was an explosive song. Like, everybody was into this song. The video was insanely cool. It was one of those videos that I think everybody was like, did you see that at the time? And it just had this epic awesomeness to it, and I think it properly reflects the reference that it is referencing, as well as, you know, it's cool when a cool video is with a cool song. It was perfect, even though it's Mad Max, which is Australian, with California Love, but this video takes place in California, so I guess this is sort of what happens in the post-dystopian world that's not in Australia, maybe? I don't know. So basically, to sum up this video, and this became a bit of an obsession researching this because I found out a bunch of cool stuff, but we'll get into that. So basically, this video, first off, I love Dr. Dre with the eye patch. I love Tupac's dance where he like does the thing with the arms at one point. And I love the idea of, like, basically it starts off, it's like Chris Tucker and I believe the other guy, Clifton Powell, come in, and he's saying, "Can you dig it?" from the Warriors, and Chris Tucker's like, "Can you dig it, man?" And like, that's awesome. But then, and this is a part I actually found interesting when I was watching it, is in it, Dr. Dre and Tupac are coming in because this guy won't let them, is kind of like controlling the parties in the Thunderdome or something, and music video plots, it's basically about sale, but they come in and like free all the ladies and then let the ladies dance. But hear me out on this, none of the Mad Max films involved at this point, at the point that this video came out, which is 1996, had involved Mad Max, or Mel Gibson still then, freeing a bunch of ladies. That was in Fury Road. So did California Love, and I'm a little serious about that, did that invent the idea of a Mad Max film where two heroes come and save a bunch of ladies and then drive around in cars and stuff and be happy? Okay, maybe not so much, but but they do, part of the video is they free all these women and they do drive around with them. And what I'm saying is, California Love was inspired by Mad Max, but did California Love in fact then go on to influence Mad Max in itself? George Miller's never said that, but the fact that there are dates behind, the last one was, I believe, mid 80s was Thunderdome, and this was 96, and then Fury Road doesn't come out till the 2010s, would argue that the first Mad Max inspired thing where they come and free enslaved women was actually Tupac and Dr. Dre. It's basically more of a style video, and they're like dancing and rapping in the Thunderdome sort of thing, and then you see them driving around and the guy jumping on a motorcycle, and all these people walking around, and the cool, I think it's in the California desert, I'm not sure. The other guy, Roger Troutman, he's the guy who's in the helicopter the whole time, but he is also featured on the song, which went to #1. This was very soon put together, very quickly. Tupac had just gotten out of jail, I think a week before, finished the song, and a couple days later they made the video, which is kind of insane, to be perfectly honest with you. This was directed by Hype Williams, and also apparently Michael Clark Duncan is in there. I could never get a clear shot of his face, and I saw larger dudes there, and I'm like, maybe that's him, I'm not sure. But Chris Tucker in interviews has said Michael Clark Duncan was there, so I'm going to believe him because I was not there, so what do I know? But apparently one of the producers said that it was put together pretty quickly as soon as the Dr. Dre song was finished, because the Dr. Dre song was finished well before, and then Tupac came on to it eventually. But it's also, this is sort of a weird song because Ultramagnetic MCs had done similar samples and done similar songs like it, and there's been criticism in hip-hop and stuff, and like if you look at the legacy and the time, there's various songs that are very close to California Love before it happened. But I've always argued, like the Ultramagnetic MCs one, I forget the name of that song, that has similar samples, is not California Love. And I think California Love, all of the pieces of it coming together, is what is sort of the genius of Dr. Dre, is not just, sure, this had happened before, but nobody made it happen in pop like this. And I think that shows you the production and the prowess and the mixing of Dr. Dre, that he could take all those things and make it the amazing song that it is. Not that, sure, other people had done it before, but they never did it like this, to be clear. But anyway, so this was directed by Hype Williams, who was already a fairly celebrated director at the time, despite what anyone say. It is sort of the thing that launched him to another level. However, I learned something about this video, and this became an interesting thing. So I learned that this was not Hype Williams' idea. This is actually developed by Dr. Dre and Jada Pinkett. Yet for real. So apparently, and this became an obsession of mine. I never knew this before. So her and Dr. Dre worked on this concept independently. This has really nothing to do with her. She did have a very close relationship with Tupac. Apparently, like, Tupac sort of just showed up. He was very not involved in the video. Like, he did the verse, then like, we're shooting this Mad Max video. He's like, I just got out of jail. What the fuck is happening? But whatever. So she came up with the concept. And she was actually the first one expected to direct the video, actually. This, and I will say, I found Dr. Dre, there's an MTV I Wish You Were Here kind of video that I will link, that will be linked in the description of this, where he actually says this, but him and Jada Pinkett developed it. She came up with the whole Thunderdome thing, the whole idea of it, and so then she decided not to do it. Now, this is like an extra rumored thing about this, but the rumor is like she didn't do it, was going to do it, but she bowed out. She said because of family stuff. The rumor has always been that Will Smith asked her not to do it because she didn't want her with the death row people, to sort of defend a little bit that Will Smith decision. This was not the death row of the early 90s with like Nothing But a G Thing, and they were like a little bit scary, and you know, you're like, I don't know. This is at the point where Dr. Dre's like pretty much gonna leave. People are getting beaten up for rewinding, you know, tape too far and stuff like that. This is at the point where everyone was like bouncing and trying to find other deals, and like everyone was kind of concerned, and especially when Tupac showed up. So this wasn't, of all the times to not be involved with death row, this was the time. So it late 95, early 96 was the scary, insane time. I know there's been a lot of weird profiling of them and stuff like that, but this was the point where like the East Coast West Coast thing was heating up. Suge Knight's ego was astronomical at the time. Like, of all times to say, please do not work with death row, this was probably the time, to be perfectly honest with you. So I sort of respect that, but it is crazy to think that Hype Williams, I think, again, much like with the Dr. Dre thing, I don't know Jada Pinkett's. I know she's done some music videos. I think Hype Williams, and knowing his direction, I think he's the one who made this video what it was. But I do think she deserves that credit because it seems like not something like he came up with or he knew necessarily. But he does in interviews acknowledge her and what she did. It seems the story between her involvement in treatment to direction based on who you ask. She says she basically wasn't involved after she bounced from it. Hype Williams said he talked to her on the phone and they had discussions about it and stuff like that. I have no clue. It seems like every person who's involved in this has a different story and they sort of contradict each other, but we can all agree that Jada Pinkett came up with the idea. Hype Williams made it a classic. I think without him and his crazy direction and stuff like that, but he seems more like he was just trying to capture as much as he could, and there's so much cool imagery between Tupac being an incredible star and magnificent, and I also think his flow on it, I mean, Tupac's flow as a rapper is interesting because he's not as formatted as a Nas or a Jay-Z flow-wise, so you can see him like weave in and out. You're never really sure where he's going, and it feels like so alive, especially in this song, that like Dr. Dre is, you know, always has someone else write his verses, is very like precise, and Tupac, you're like, he's very much like coming in like a bullet and everything, and he's dancing and he's so charismatic and he's cool in the cars and all that stuff. I actually kind of think I count him as like the in between Mad Max. He was Mad Max till Tom Hardy, basically. I feel like he's an honorary Mad Max, but he was just so charismatic in this, and seeing Dr. Dre, and as a kid, this was the one. I was still into mostly into sci-fi, but this was one that like really got me into Tupac a lot, and it was just like this amazing thing. And it was 96 was the year of the big videos were movie references. This was Mad Max, Smashing Pumpkins had Tonight, which was George Méliès, so it was a big movie music video year. But I've always loved this video. I think it is probably the best recapturing the Mad Max thing I can think of, which is why I wanted to talk about it. It's one of the best music videos of all time. It's probably my favorite Hype Williams video. I know he's more known for like the Big Pimpin' kind of stuff and the stuff he did with Kanye West, but I think this is kind of shows like how he was really good at capturing certain stars, capturing like, you know, whether it's Roger Troutman in the helicopter, whether it's Tupac being this big charismatic star, where it's like Dr. Dre with his presence and like everyone, and like having Chris Tucker and having these amazing casts and understanding how to capture a moment. And I think like this shows like how he was good at doing a regular typical rap video, because even his where he do, you know, like Big Pimpin', where he's just capturing UGK and Jay-Z and all these people, he's amazing at that. But doing that in a sci-fi setting, I think makes it extraordinarily great video, because he's able to combine amazing sets and a fantastic idea, as well as how he is very, almost like a documentarian, very good at capturing these cool moments and these very charismatic people doing, and with probably one of the best songs and hip-hop songs of the 90s as well. I think this is a proper, awesome tribute to Mad Max and an amazing music video as well.